The clock on the wall ticked away, each second dragging like an eternity. I sat in the dimly lit living room, fingers drumming restlessly against the armrest of the couch. The house was eerily silent, except for the occasional hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of a car passing outside. The glow of the TV bathed the room in a soft blue hue, but I wasn't watching the movie playing on the screen. My focus was entirely on the front door. It was nearly 3 a.m., and Stephanie still wasn't home. I clenched my jaw and checked my phone. No missed calls, no messages, nothing. I told myself not to worry, that she was probably caught up at work. But deep down, I knew better. Lately, she had been working late more often. At first, I dismissed it. Stephanie was a dedicated nurse, and long shifts weren't unusual. But then, little things started adding up. The way she began dressing up before work. The extra effort she put into her appearance, when she used to just throw on scrubs and rush out the door. Her phone, once carelessly left around the house, was now always face down, always on silent. And then there was the distance. She stopped asking about my day, barely listened when I talked about work. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly became strained and awkward. She hardly touched me anymore, always claiming exhaustion, stress, or that she was just lost in her thoughts. I ignored the gnawing feeling in my gut for as long as I could, but tonight I couldn't shake it. When I finally heard the familiar sound of her car pulling into the driveway, my stomach twisted. I didn't move as the engine shut off and her heels clicked against the pavement. The front door creaked open and Stephanie stepped inside. She froze when she saw me sitting there, her expression carefully neutral. "Hey," she said, forcing a small smile as she set her bag down. "You're still up?" I studied her, taking in the details. Her hair, usually a bit messy after a long shift, was still styled. Her lipstick was fresh, eyeliner smudged just enough to look intentional. And then there was the faint scent of perfume in the air. Not hers. "You're home late," I said evenly. She let out a small, forced laugh. "Yeah, sorry, crazy shift." I nodded, watching her closely. She avoided my gaze, shrugging off her coat and heading to the kitchen. "I'm starving," she called over her shoulder. "Didn't get a chance to eat." A lie. Stephanie never skipped meals at work. She was the one who always reminded me to eat. I followed her into the kitchen, watching as she pulled open the fridge and grabbed a water bottle. She twisted off the cap, taking a long sip, her hands steady. No guilt, no hesitation. I wanted to ask her outright, demand to know where she had been, who she was with, why she smelled like someone else's cologne. But I held my tongue. If I confronted her now, she'd have an excuse ready, a way to make me feel like I was being paranoid. So, I played along. "Long shift, huh?" I asked, leaning against the counter. She nodded, rubbing the back of her neck. "Yeah, just one of those nights." "Weird," I said, tilting my head. "I thought you told me earlier that tonight was a short shift." For the first time, her mask slipped. Just a flicker, an almost imperceptible hesitation before she recovered. "I did, but they asked me to stay late. Last-minute thing." She was good, but not good enough. "If that's the case," I said casually, "why didn't you let me know? I was getting kind of worried." She sighed, rolling her eyes. "Alex, come on. Do I really need to check in every time my shift runs late?" There it was. The defensiveness, the irritation. I shook my head. "That's not what I'm saying. I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to keep my cool. "Forget it." She watched me for a moment before stepping closer, wrapping her arms around my waist. The embrace felt mechanical, obligatory. "I'm exhausted," she murmured against my chest. "Can we not do this right now?" I stiffened. The warmth that used to ground me now felt cold, distant. She pulled away and pressed a quick kiss to my cheek before disappearing down the hallway, leaving me alone in the kitchen. The scent of that unfamiliar perfume still lingered in the air. I stared after her, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. Something was going on, and I was going to find out what. The truth unfolds. Morning came too soon. I barely slept, my mind replaying the night over and over. When I woke, the other side of the bed was empty. No surprise. Stephanie had been sleeping in the guest room more often lately, claiming she needed space, more distance, more excuses. The sound of the shower running down the hall sent my heart racing. This was my chance. I had never been the kind of husband to go through my wife's things. I had trusted her, at least I used to. But that trust was gone, replaced by something else. I moved quickly, stepping into our dimly lit bedroom. Her handbag sat on the dresser, slightly open. My hands trembled as I reached for it, but I ignored the guilt gnawing at my conscience. If she had nothing to hide, I had nothing to find. I took a deep breath and peeked inside. Wallet, lip balm, a few loose receipts. And then I saw it. A small crumpled piece of paper tucked into the side pocket. I pulled it out, smoothing it against my palm. My pulse hammered as I read the words printed across it. Wine and Company. Transaction: 2 glasses of Cabernet Sauvignon. Time: 11:42 p.m. I froze. Stephanie had told me she was at the hospital all night, that she was exhausted from a long shift. But this receipt told a different story. She had been at a wine bar, and she hadn't been alone. A weight settled in my chest, crushing and undeniable. My throat tightened as I flipped the receipt over, hoping, praying, for some kind of reasonable explanation. There was none, just cold, hard proof that my wife had lied to me. The sound of the shower stopped. My stomach twisted as I shoved the receipt back into her bag, my hands clumsy and unsteady. I stepped away just as the bathroom door creaked open. Stephanie walked out, wrapped in a towel, damp hair cascading over her shoulders. She didn't notice me at first, padding toward the dresser to grab her lotion. Then, finally, her eyes met mine. "You're up early," she said, her voice neutral. I forced a smile. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." She nodded, not pressing further. If she had any idea what I had just found, she didn't show it. I watched her as she got dressed, my mind racing. Should I confront her now? Demand to know where she had really been? Number not yet. I needed more than just a receipt. If I pushed her too soon, she'd have time to cover her tracks. I needed something she couldn't talk her way out of. So instead, I played along. "Want some coffee?" I asked. "That'd be nice," she said, tying her hair into a loose bun. I nodded and walked toward the kitchen, forcing myself to breathe. The game had started, and I was going to win. This version keeps the intensity high while enhancing readability and flow. Let me know if you want further refinements. Please subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.